Ave Maria to all. We are continuing to look at living a life of union of will with Our Lady. And in this episode, we are looking at discerning and following inspirations. Now, the best way, and really the only way, to properly discern inspirations and to discern spirits is in union with Our Lady. And there's a very profound theological reason for this statement. Where Our Lady is, there we also find the Holy Spirit, who is her spouse, as St. Francis of Assisi would say, and theologians after him like St. Louis de Montfort, and particularly St. Maximilian Kolbe. There's a spousal relationship between the Holy Spirit and Our Lady. Where she is, there we find the Holy Spirit. Now, this does not mean that we will not find other spirits likewise that try to tempt even the children of Mary. The spirit of the world, the spirit of the flesh, the spirit of the devil. These spirits are always there, lying in wait for the offspring of Our Lady. But it is less likely that we will be deceived. We can say even more. If our life of union with Mary is perfect, it is impossible that we be deceived by these malicious spirits. So let's look at discerning inspirations properly. And first, let's look at true inspirations and what they are. An inspiration is an impulse or motion that we feel to act. And motions can come from the world, from the flesh, from the devil, or they can come from Our Lady. The sources can be different. When we speak about discernment, we're talking about finding the source of a given inspiration. Now, true inspirations come from God through Our Lady. And a true inspiration is a breath of the Holy Spirit. An inspiration is a breath of the Holy Spirit, which is given only through Mary. Now, how do we discern specifically the true inspirations? St. Paul tells us to test everything and retain that which is good. The testing of spirits is very necessary, and it is important for us to have the proper principles to do so. Let's look at 3 signs of true inspiration. These are just very basic signs that will help us to do preliminary discernment, some very simple discernment. The first of these signs is agreement with God's will, otherwise already known. Now, Our Lady never contradicts herself. She always has the same instructions for us. Do whatever He tells you. She mediates for us the knowledge of God's will and wants us to always fulfill it. She does not inspire something that conflicts with carrying out the will of God. So, if we are sure Our Lady wants us to do something, for example, to fulfill the commandments, to be faithful to the duties of our state in life, to be faithful to the life of virtue, to practice the virtue that a given situation demands. If we are sure of Our Lady's will to do something, and we feel what might be an inspiration, we must filter it. We must ask ourselves some questions about the source of it. Is the inspiration contrary to the commandments, to church teaching, or to church authority? If it is, it does not come from Our Lady, because the commandments and the teaching of the church and the authority of the church are for us God's will known for sure. Our Lady would never inspire something contrary to it. For example, a relationship that goes against the commandments. Even if somebody feels very inspired or thinks he is inspired to enter into it, certainly does not come from Our Lady, because it is in conflict with her will already known in the commandments. Do whatever He tells you. Apparitions also and devotions that are not approved by the church, or more specifically, apparitions and devotions that have been discerned by the church to be not authentic and prohibited. These, we can be sure, are not from Our Lady. Our Lady never puts us in conflict with the church, but wants us to obey the church because she is its mother. Another question we should ask ourselves about an inspiration is whether it's contrary to the duties of our state in life, or whether it's contrary to bearing our crosses patiently. Because if it is, if there's conflict, then we can say that that inspiration does not come from Our Lady, because Our Lady never contradicts herself. Now, a second sign of inspiration, true inspiration, is harmony with other inspirations. Our Lady does not pull us in two opposite directions. Our Lady is the source of peace, which is the tranquility of order. Hence, if we are discerning two contradictory inspirations, only one of them can come from Our Lady, while the other not. I'll use just some quick examples here. For example, if someone has already discerned an authentic call to embrace a way of life, let's say the Franciscan Third Order, and has already committed himself to it, and knows it is for him the will of Our Lady, if he feels inspired, or is discerning what seems like an inspiration to join another Third Order, to pursue another way of life after making already a commitment to something he authentically discerned as being from Our Lady, he can be sure that that inspiration is not truly such for him, because it's incompatible with what he knows already Our Lady has inspired him to do. Another example, if someone has already discerned with certainty that Our Lady wants him to dedicate his money to building an orphanage, let's say, to needy children, and then starts feeling what he thinks might be an inspiration to stop halfway, to leave that building half done, and to give away all his money to other charities, the two being incompatible, he can rightly conclude that this second inspiration to stop is not from Our Lady. It might be an impulse from other sources, but it is not from Our Lady. And a third sign of authentic inspiration is approval from one's spiritual director or church authority. For bigger inspirations, the ones that have weightier consequences, we must seek counsel. And for undertakings that require permission, we must seek the permission of the church. And it is really spiritual direction received with an open heart that forms us to proper discernment methods and helps us to do so without fear of error. Brothers and sisters, Ave Maria.